Hey, it's Josie with Affirmation Pod, your home for personal development. I create actionable content that you can try before you hit the sack tonight. Things that are practical, realistic, and relevant. I'm really excited to bring to you my first actionable tip for my new Affirmation Pod podcast. And again, for those of you who are new friends, I had a podcast before called Affirmations for Healthy Living, and welcome again to the friends of Affirmation for Healthy Living. Thank you for coming over to Affirmation Pod. I have remastered all my episodes in Affirmations for Healthy Living, and those are the first 30 episodes in Affirmation Pod. And those are me speaking affirmations. So if you ever have a time where you just need that. You just need to hear it. And you need to hear it. You need to say it yourself. Feel free to go into any of those. And in the title, you will see meditation, if it's a meditation, relaxation, if it's a relaxation episode, affirmations, if it's an affirmation episode, and then you'll see the topic next to it. And so for today, it'll say actionable tip - meditate, because today's topic is meditate. So I hope that's easy enough to understand for when you're clicking on the episodes. I'm really excited to bring to you today's tip because it was inspired by an old client of mine. Now, for those of you who don't know, I have a master's in counseling and I've worked for almost a decade as a therapist and as an educator, but I'm now a stay-at-home mom who's podcasting. So I'm hoping to give you my expertise and experience in a way that is practical, realistic, and relevant for you. This tip was inspired by a recent visit to my local fair where I actually bumped into an old client, and he came up to me and says, "Do you remember me?" And I'm like, "Of course I remember you." And he looked great. And I told him, "You look so good and happy and healthy." And he said, yeah, big smile, nodding his head. He's like, "I am working. I have a management job. I'm managing people. I'm doing so well." And it's so cool to hear because he is somebody that when I was seeing him, he was struggling with many different issues. He had a mental health issue, addiction issue. He'd been through mood disorders clinic, been to rehab numerous times. And so it was pretty amazing to see where he was at. And I told him this, and he said, one of the keys to my success, and that's the term he used, he calls it success, is meditation. And then he looked at me and he said, "And the one thing I remember about you was giving me that date to meditate." And he's like, "Do you remember what that is?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I want to share that with you. And so this client, he grew up in an abusive family, abusive home. And one thing he kept saying is, my father never praised me. I was always criticized. I was very unhappy. And when we were unpacking some things, whenever he was doing well, and let's say with meditation or with work or just not relapsing, whatever it might be, if anything happened and he got discouraged, it would trigger him and he would spiral because he really got into a place where he felt like a failure, and it took him back to his childhood where he totally felt like a failure. And so he would really sink mentally and emotionally. And I remember he was really into meditation. He was introduced to it when he was at the mood disorders clinic, and it was something he wanted to continue. But he would, not meditate for a while, or he relapsed, and then he was just like really depressed about it. So I created this thing called Date to Meditate for him. And basically, Date to Meditate is taking time in the morning or in the evening or both and think of what the date is. So if it's the 1st of the month or the 10th of the month or the 19th of the month or the 27th of the month, and then take deep breaths and count backwards from that. So if it's the 1st of the month, you're taking one deep breath. If it is the 8th of the month, you start with 8 and you count back and you take 8 deep breaths. If it's the 31st of the month, you're taking 31 deep breaths. And I know you may be thinking, that is so easy, like one deep breath, hello. But that's the beauty of it. It's easy, it's achievable, and it brings in a foundation for meditation. And so it was cool talking to the client about this. And then I actually started doing that myself in the evening. So for the last while, probably over a month now, I have not remembered every night, but here's the beauty of it, right? the next day you just do whatever the day is. You just get a fresh batch of breaths, so to speak, that you need to take. So if I miss the 16th, I start on the 17th and I take 17 breaths. And so it's been really cool to do that. And I thought, hey, if I'm going to relaunch my podcast, maybe one of the actual tips should be this, because it's something I've been doing. And here's the thing. When you do something and it becomes a part of you, it really becomes innate or something you could just do subconsciously. That's pretty cool, right? And so recently, this is so funny that I'm saying this. So recently it was week 1 of the NFL season. And I should say I'm not this huge NFL, which is National Football League, fan. However, there are people in my family who are very big fans. And like my husband says, week 1 is like Christmas Day. I get that for him, but it doesn't totally, like Christmas Day is, I don't know what would be Christmas Day for me, but it's not week 1. Not that I'm against football or anything. Anyhow, I was watching the Sunday night game. It was Dallas and New England. It was the third quarter. I'm sitting on my navy blue couch. And yeah, okay, maybe I was a little bit bored or just zoning out or whatever. But I started to take deep breaths. I was thinking of what the date was. And I took deep breaths. And can I ask you, while you've been listening to this podcast, have you been taking any deep breaths? It's nice, right? Just reminders to take deep breaths, to just check in, to chill, whatever you want to call it. It has a really soothing effect on us. And so that's my tip. If you want to try it out, the date to meditate. Think of the date. This you can do anywhere, anytime. If you're traveling, if you're at home. Just think of the date. Take those deep breaths. And if you're looking for more actionable content that you can try before you hit the sack, you can sign up for my email list. I've created 6 reflection worksheets and I'm giving them away for free. You just need to go to affirmationpod.com/worksheets to sign up for my email list, and I'll be giving them to you over a period of 4 weeks. You know, there's a quote I heard of recently from Earl Nightingale, which says, we become what we think about. And these reflection worksheets are designed that you can see what you're thinking about, what you're doing, how you're feeling, what you're believing. And you can check in with yourself. They're simple, they're one-pagers, and that's why they're reflection worksheets. You can reflect on them. And is this who I'm becoming? Is this who I want to be? And if it is, great, you're on track. And if it's not, what can you do? Do you need to shift, pivot, do a 180? Again, affirmationpod.com/worksheets is where you can find this. And as a bonus, if you hear this before November 1st, 2015, and you sign up before November 1st, 2015, you will be entered into a draw for the School of Greatness book by Lewis Howes. If you don't know who he is, he has a podcast by the same name. It's called The School of Greatness. I encourage you to check it out. It's good stuff. I think he publishes something 3 times a week on there. His book comes out October 27th. I have pre-ordered it. I've actually pre-ordered 2 copies, one for me and one for whoever wins the draw. So again, affirmationpod.com/worksheets is where you need to go. Sign up for my email list. You will get these 6 reflection worksheets that are free. You'll get them over a period of 4 weeks. They're on different topics about our inner world, our life, our actions, our beliefs, how we run our lives. And if you sign up before November 1st, 2015, you'll be entered into the draw for the upcoming book, The School of Greatness by Lewis Howes. Once again, I'm Josie with Affirmation Pod, your home for personal development. Thank you so much for listening, connecting in. Bye for now.